When erections start to falter, the impact isn't only physical. It's as if the body switches on a silent warning light, reminding you that vitality isn't what it used to be. Many men after 60 describe the same scene. The desire is there, but the penis doesn't respond with the former firmness, or takes so long that a second round feels impossible. This difficulty isn't a lack of will. It's the result of a system that has lost efficiency, less elastic blood vessels, slower nerves, and hormones that no longer sustain the same response. What almost no one knows is that simple adjustments to your routine can transform this picture. An erection depends on something very concrete: blood entering the corpora cavernosa and staying there. Without that, there's no rigidity. The problem is that, with age, production of nitric oxide, the molecule that relaxes the vessels and opens the way for blood, drops sharply. That's why the first encounter may still happen, but the body takes longer to recover for a second. The good news is that there are natural ways to reactivate this process, and one of them is closer than you think. At breakfast, by adding a specific ingredient to the coffee you already drink, it's possible to stimulate circulation, reduce inflammation in the vessels, and even support hormone production. This isn't magic, it's applied biology. A simple spoonful can switch back on mechanisms that were dormant, bringing firmness within minutes, even for men in their 70s or 80s. In the next few minutes, I'll show how this works in practice. But first, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you keep receiving straightforward content about intimate health. And I'd like to propose an interaction. If you think the biggest challenge for maintaining an erection is circulation, type circulation in the comments. If you believe the bigger issue is hormones, type hormones. I want to see which of the two shows up more here. The first spoonful that truly makes a difference isn't an expensive supplement or a medication. It's something you probably already have in your kitchen: cinnamon. It sounds too simple to have an impact, but that's exactly where its power lies. To understand it, we need to look at what happens to a man's blood after age 50 or 60. Over time, blood vessels lose elasticity, and excess sugar in the blood starts acting like an invisible cut on their walls. Imagine the blood becoming thicker, almost like syrup. That heavier, more aggressive liquid passes through the body's most delicate capillaries, precisely those that irrigate the penis. The result: less flow, less pressure, weaker erections. This is where cinnamon comes in. It's one of the most powerful natural regulators of blood glucose. By keeping sugar at stable levels, it prevents that corrosive effect and protects the finest vessels. That alone would be enough to improve intimate health. But there's an even more interesting benefit. Cinnamon helps the vessels relax, allowing blood to circulate more freely. We're not talking about a theoretical effect. Studies have already shown that compounds in cinnamon increase cells' sensitivity to insulin and reduce inflammatory processes that stiffen the vessels. When you add a spoonful of cinnamon to your coffee, the caffeine heightens alertness while the cinnamon softens the vessel's response. It's like stepping on the accelerator and at the same time, releasing the handbrake. The body feels this immediately. More circulation, more energy, more vitality in the pelvic region. Many men describe this as an internal warmth, a sign that the engine is getting fuel again. And here's a seldom mentioned detail. Cinnamon also helps with the production of nitric oxide, that molecule that commands the opening of the vessels and is essential for erections. In other words, an ingredient you can stir into your coffee in seconds sets the perfect stage for firmness to return consistently. If this explanation is already making things clearer for you, take a moment now to like this video. That quick gesture helps spread quality information to other men facing the same challenges and motivates me to bring even more practical, objective content for your intimate health. If cinnamon prepares the ground, pure cacao is what turns on the main engine. But pay attention, we're not talking about sugary chocolate mixes. What matters here is 100% cocoa powder, the dark, bitter, nutrient-dense kind. A single spoonful in your coffee is enough to turn an ordinary drink into direct support for circulation. Cacao's secret lies in its flavonoids, natural compounds that stimulate nitric oxide production. And why does that matter? Because nitric oxide is the master switch of an erection. It's what tells blood vessels to relax so blood can flow with enough pressure to fill the corpora cavernosa of the penis. Without sufficient nitric oxide, it doesn't matter how much desire there is, the blood simply can't find a path. As the years pass, production of this molecule drops by nearly half. That explains why many men, even with active libido, struggle to maintain a firm erection. Cacao steps in here as a quiet ally, returning to the body the ability to release nitric oxide on a larger scale. And the effects aren't just theory. Solid research shows that regular cacao consumption improves endothelial function, the ability of vessels to dilate and carry blood without resistance. The impact isn't only physical, but psychological cacao is rich in magnesium, an essential mineral for keeping testosterone levels in balance. It also stimulates the production of serotonin and endorphins, neurotransmitters linked to pleasure and motivation. In other words, it not only improves blood flow but also reinforces a sense of well-being and energy, creating the perfect setting for the body to respond fully. Mixed with coffee, cacao becomes even more effective. Caffeine opens the circulation pathways and boosts absorption, while cacao gives the chemical command to relax the vessels and fill the penis with blood. It's like combining two different commands into one message for the body: energy and dilation. The result, when practiced consistently, is the recovery of a firmness many men believed they had lost for good. If you've already realized how a simple spoonful added to your coffee with the right ingredient can change your circulation and restore firmness to your erections, you'll be glad to know I've prepared a complete resource to take this further. In my digital book, Rediscovering Intimacy, Healthy Sexuality After 60, I've gathered practical strategies that go far beyond coffee. There you'll find guidance on how to keep blood flow active, how to adjust hormones naturally, and which habits truly speed recovery between encounters. It's a straightforward guide to turning small changes into consistent results. The link is in the first pinned comment, and I recommend checking it out to give your body the right tools to respond firmly again. If cocoa works as an immediate fuel for circulation, Peruvian maca acts more deeply, almost like fine-tuning the hormonal engine. This root, grown in the Andes at extreme altitudes, didn't survive such a hostile environment by chance. Its resilience to severe conditions ends up being transferred to those who consume it. Maca is what we call an adaptogen, a substance capable of helping the body find balance in different situations. In men's sexual health, it doesn't force a momentary erection like a pill. Instead, maca signals to the hormonal axis, the communication between the brain, the pituitary gland, and the testes, that it's time to optimize the natural production of hormones, especially testosterone. Think of it as an internal thermostat. If levels are too low, it helps raise them. If they're too high, it helps stabilize them. This balance is essential because without adequate testosterone, the body loses vitality, libido declines, and erections become weak or inconsistent. Another fascinating point is that maca's effects don't appear as an instant jolt. They build up over weeks of regular use. It's as if the body were gradually retrained to produce energy, desire, and firmness more consistently. Clinical studies show that men who add mace to their routine report not only improved sexual performance, but also increased overall drive, mental clarity, and even a more stable mood. This root also has a direct impact on pelvic circulation. Beyond modulating hormones, maca improves the quality of blood vessels, making them more responsive to nitric oxide signals. This means that when the moment of intimacy arrives, the body not only wants to, but also has the real conditions to respond firmly. It's important to understand that, unlike temporary solutions, maca works like a quiet rebuilding. It doesn't create an artificial erection, but strengthens the foundations that allow it to happen naturally, even in men over 60, 70, or 80. This from-the-inside-out quality makes maca one of the most valuable tools when it comes to lasting sexual vitality. If up to now we've talked about circulation and hormonal balance, we now need to touch on a point many men neglect: raw materials. The body doesn't produce testosterone out of thin air. Just as a building needs bricks and cement, hormones depend on chemical building blocks from your diet. And in this process, the right fats are irreplaceable. For years, an entire generation was taught to fear fat. Low-fat diets were seen as synonymous with health. The problem is that by removing this essential fuel, many men ended up depriving the body of the base needed to produce testosterone. The result was silent, falling energy, dampened libido, increasingly weak erections. This is where allies like coconut oil and an even more concentrated version, MCT oil, come in. These oils don't act like the heavy saturated fats from fried foods that harm vessels and clog arteries. They belong to a category called medium-chain triglycerides. Unlike long, complex fats that require a lengthy digestive process, these are quickly absorbed by the liver and turned into almost immediate energy. But the most important point isn't just supplying quick energy. These fats are used directly as raw material for producing sex hormones. When cells receive these building blocks, the body can synthesize testosterone more easily, and that directly affects the firmness and frequency of erections. There's also a practical detail. Adding coconut oil or MCT to coffee isn't just drizzling a few drops into the cup. Anyone who's tried it knows. The oil floats, forming an unappealing film. The trick is to blend the mixture with a hand mixer or blender for a few seconds. The result is a creamy drink, similar to a latte, that not only provides steady energy for hours, but also delivers the elements your body was missing to sustain hormonal vitality. Recent studies have already observed a correlation between regular intake of these fats and healthier hormone levels. We're not talking about a magical, instant effect, but about ongoing adjustment that gives the body back its ability to respond as before. It's like swapping out worn-out engine parts for new components. Suddenly, the system runs smoothly again. The great irony is that what many avoided out of fear, fat, may be exactly what was missing to reactivate such a fundamental process. And when it comes to erections, everything is connected. Without circulation, without hormones, and without raw materials, the body simply can't deliver what desire asks for. After tuning circulation, hormones, and raw materials, there's still one ingredient that can act like a true internal accelerator: ginger. At first glance, it may seem like just a spicy seasoning used in teas or Asian dishes, but in practice, it's one of the most powerful allies for male vitality. Ginger works on two decisive fronts. The first is circulation. Many men over 60 deal with hardened vessels and chronic microinflammation that act like small, invisible barriers to blood flow. Ginger contains bioactive compounds like gingerol that have a direct anti-inflammatory effect on these vessels. It's as if it lubricated the network of tubes that carry blood to the penis, reducing stiffness and allowing flow to run more freely. This simple detail can transform both the speed and intensity of the erectile response. The second front is, even more surprising, testicular health. Studies show that ginger can protect testicular cells against oxidative stress, that microscopic wear caused by time, heat, alcohol, and even daily stress. This protection isn't just passive defense. In many cases, ginger increases the activity of the enzymes that support testosterone production. In other words, it helps keep the factory running when the body insists on slowing down. The noticeable effect is twofold. On one hand, an erection that doesn't depend only on the moment, but on reinforced ongoing circulation. On the other, more solid hormonal support that returns vitality to the body as a whole. It's no coincidence that, in controlled studies, some groups of men showed significant increases in testosterone levels after weeks of regular ginger consumption. And here's a curious detail. Ginger doesn't act only internally, it also triggers immediate sensations. Anyone who has had a strong ginger tea or chewed a fresh piece knows the warmth that quickly spreads through the body. That sensation directly reflects increased peripheral circulation, like a small preview of what happens in the pelvic vessels when ginger becomes part of your routine. By adding a pinch of ground ginger to your coffee or even a small grated piece to the drink, you're giving your body not only flavor, but a continuous stimulus for vessels and hormones to work together. It's like sparking an extra ignition in a sluggish system. Over time, that spark becomes a steady flame, sustaining not only firmer erections but also day-to-day energy and drive. We've arrived at the point where all the elements connect. Coffee, which seemed like just a daily habit, becomes a strategic base for restoring male vitality. Cinnamon, cacao, maca, coconut oil, and ginger aren't mere ingredients. Together, they function as a support system that improves circulation, protects vessels, strengthens hormone production, and gives the body back its ability to respond firmly. It's as if each spoonful were a silent message sent to the body. You still have power. You just needed to wake up. The impact goes beyond erections themselves. Many men report that after adopting this simple routine, they notice not only more firmness, but also all-day energy, mental clarity, and even greater confidence in everyday interactions. This happens because the body doesn't work in isolated compartments. When you improve circulation, regulate hormones, and reduce inflammation, the entire system reorganizes, from the brain down to the pelvic musculature. Another interesting point is that the results don't come only from the coffee's immediate effect. There's also a cumulative effect. Each day you give your body the right nutrients, it learns to respond better. It's like sharpening a blade that's been in storage. At first, the change is subtle, but over time the difference becomes impossible to ignore. This view is liberating because it shows that even at 70 or 80, it's still possible to regain vitality without relying solely on medications. When properly stimulated, the body has impressive resources for regeneration. And this isn't a magical promise. It's basic physiology. You just have to provide the right stimuli. And if you've made it this far, it's a sign you value this kind of knowledge. The kind that doesn't stay in theory, but shows practical paths to transform your reality. So I'd like to invite you to take the next step. Subscribe to the channel now. That way you'll get access to more exclusive content on intimate health and male vitality. Also, take a moment to like this video, because that simple gesture helps bring the message to other men who need it. And when you're done here, choose another video on the channel to watch. Each one was designed to deepen this journey of recovery and strengthening. Thank you for staying with me to the end. Take good care of yourself, your energy, and your health. See you in the next video.